the Indy.net Consortium. My name's Ari Rahimzadeh. You can call me Ari. I'm one of the organizers, along with Nikki over here. Hello, Nikki. Yay. Um, Yay, you got the entire Theorist team here, and they are happy to help you. We'll talk about them in a moment. There we go. So we're brought to you by Theorists. Well, for those of you who are joining online, you can't see this, but we've got a pretty cool space. This is pretty neat. And there's free sandwiches, which of course, if you're online, you also cannot enjoy. So if you have to butt out early, that's okay. I have to as well. We're going to record this, so you can always catch up on it later. So don't worry. Please ask your questions in the chat. Nikki is diligently monitoring that, and we'll make sure that Nathan answers your questions. Nathan knows everything. It's on his resume. Yeah. It's on your resume. It must be true. I did not use ChatGPT to create that. Right. All right. So we meet the first Wednesday of every month. And we're still finalizing for next month, I believe, is mental health in the workplace, right, Nikki? Right. So you won't see that on the site yet. That's my fault. I've been a little lazy this week, but I will get that up there. And then we will have a campfire discussion or a fishbowl discussion and lightning talks in June and July. So that will end up there. So if you've never done a lightning talk before or a fishbowl, let me tell you, lightning talks are crazy fun. You come up, you write a topic that you want to talk about. And you've got basically up to 5 minutes to talk about it. So anything you want to cover it within reason. Don't do a stand-up skit. It'd be funny for you. We should record those. That'd be great. Okay. And then anyone here done a fishbowl? So fishbowls are cool. What we would do is put a table up in the front, and only 2 people can sit there at any given time, or 3 people at any given time. And if someone else wants to join in on the conversation, they come up and someone has to leave. So you can only talk if you're at the table. And then it gets really crazy at the end when we start removing the chairs. Yeah, with people not in them still. Please come to our next meetups. Gosh, it looks like we've got a total of like 40 plus attendees. So thank you for coming. What do we have? About 15 here, thereabouts. And then we've got, we had like 22 last I looked, and that number was going up. Oh, there's the lightning talk stuff. So is anyone looking for a job? Okay, we got Matt over here. All right, and your name again? Matthew. We got Matthew looking for a job as well. Don't confuse the two. So anyone offering jobs? Hiring? I know Theorist will help you there. Nikki, did any of you want to come up here and talk about Theorist and how you can help? Great. I work for Klipsch, by the way, the audio company. We make speakers, things that go wow. Okay, that's what we do. It's all about the bass. So we're always looking for firmware engineers, electrical engineers, acoustic engineers, and of course, software engineers. So if you know .NET and you're a mobile developer, we don't have a fleet of 50. Yeah, we're not looking for 50 people. And now I'm probably gonna get beat up by theorists. Like, why didn't you call us first? All right, cool. Are you gonna come up and? Yeah. No, it's okay. I'm done offering work.
So if you're not familiar with
Come closer over here.
I'm so sorry.
That way other people can hear you.
Okay, got it. If you're familiar with Theorist, then you know why you're in this room. Theorist is, at its core is an IT and engineering staffing company. So we have that side of our house, and then we also have an internal solutions team on the other side of the house that specialize in custom web application, cloud migration, things like that. So if you are in the market and you're looking for IT or engineering assistance in finding that next position, a few of us back there can help you, along with others who are not here. engineering and IT. So that's that's a very fast version of what we do. And we're happy to talk to anybody about whether you're looking or you're thinking about looking or you're peeking your head up to see what's out there. We're happy to talk with you. So that's what we do.
Yay. Thank you. Yeah. I was really afraid to clap because this is like right on the corner. I'm like, I'm gonna let go and I'm just gonna see it fall. And I'll be like, okay. Okay. That'd be funny for someone, I'm sure. All right. Oh, and if you haven't joined it yet, check it out. There's a Slack channel for Indy.net Consortium. Thank you, Nikki, for setting that up. Very cool, very cool. Hit up Nikki for access. So I'll leave this up just for a few seconds so you can write that down and put her on the spam list. I mean, reach out to her. All right. And so tonight's topic is going to be generative AI. Boy, I'm glad I got that right. Generative AI. Of course, Nathan says Gen AI up here, so hopefully I got that right. He's the expert, not me. And Nathan Hiscock is going to present on that. Very excited about this. I'm sad because I have to leave, but that's why we're recording it. So yay! This is gonna be awesome. This is like all the rage now. So very cool to discuss this. We are also part of the .NET Foundation. So yay! Check out the .NET Foundation. Cool thing. They also have the virtual user group. So definitely check that out. .NET Virtual User Group. There's just meetups around the globe that talk about this. It's very cool. That's a really old screenshot. It's more than 94 members. Of course, you can't see that if you're here in person because I don't have Teams up here. Oh, I know it. Oh no, it's not. You've got it on the second screen. Yeah, I'm like, oh, it is, and then no, it's not. Great. All right, then that's all I've got to say. Nathan, welcome.
I'll be lucky if I don't like trip on this cord and rip everything down because I like to move.
Oh yeah, yikes.
That'll be all right. We're probably stand over here.
Yeah. Okay.
Unmute. Share. No. Well, no one, my kids don't pay attention, so I'm used to it. All right. Yeah, let's go. So my intent here is to have a discussion. There's a lot more people who want to head ahead. It's awesome. So super excited that there's a topic sorry. Yeah. So this has really fascinated me. But I had wanted this to be more of like a, so that's what I'm going to try to keep the ethos, the feel of. If you're online, hello, feel free to interject and ask questions, and I'll do my darndest to stop and address questions, because this is such a huge, broad, exciting, fresh new topic that it's insane. Caitlin talked to me, 3 months ago about doing this discussion or a discussion. I was like, I'd like to talk about GenAI because it's just so fascinating. And that I put this deck I started 3 months ago. Well, so much changed in that time. I had to go through the whole darn thing and update it in 3 months. It's insane. Oh, my numbers were stale. So it is crazy. So I'm really excited about it. I hope you are too. I'm kind of an excited guy anyway, so you can laugh at me. So let me come over here. So a little bit about me, because I haven't met a whole lot of people in this room before. Name's Nathan. I've lived in Indy my whole life, except for 4 years as an undergrad at Ball State. I like to backpack. I like to play with radios. I have 3 golf holes in my backyard, and I love making turf equipment and cut turf. We have 3 kids, play tennis, golf, choir, orchestra. We do all the things. I play in the symphonic band. I'm on the board. I do the treasurer. So I love music and arts, and I love to volunteer in the east side of Indianapolis where I grew up. So that's a little bit about me. And I work in tech because it is awesome. So I grew up, my first program was in first grade. Yes, ma'am, Nikki. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Absolutely. Absolutely. There we go. Is that better? All right. All right. So my background, first computer, or way back in the day, built a program. I did, submarine games, typed it all in by hand, a bunch of numbers, and I just loved it. Through high school, I helped with electronics, and a radio station. I helped him with the electronics and the computers on boards. Saw how he would present, make presentations. Decided I'd go to school. I went on a music scholarship. Decided I would do computers just for my major. It's a lot easier to make it. Here? All right. It's going to be landlocked. All right. I will adapt. So yeah, I went to computer science at Ball State. Got my first job while I was a senior. And I did worked at a company called Onyx. And it became a whole bunch of things. Started a company, Mobile Technology, Mobile Knowledge, which actually, now that I look back at it in retrospect, our real business case there was collecting information about physicians at hospitals. What do they need? Where did they go? What did they do? Remember Palm Pilots with the little flippy antenna? You know, so we took those and put the patient census on that before HIPAA. So the security requirements were quite a strict. And, you know, and so we went and sold that to some hospitals. But really the business value of that was understanding and predicting what the physicians wanted, because they drive a lot of spend at the hospitals. So the real customers were people who wanted that information, medical providers, insurance companies, things like that. Which is crazy because I look back at it now and I'm like, AI, let's predict what they want and let's figure out what they need next, right? So data. And then I did my own thing for about 10 years. Did a bunch of Azure, SharePoint work. And then I did grad school, and I'm teaching Ball State Cloud Foundations. If you're in grad school at Ball State this summer, I'll be your guy. So I love tech. I love the cloud and what it can do for people. And so for me, it's a way to give back. It really. And then today, I literally just started this new role with Foresight. I'm the director of growth, which means sales, alliance, partnerships. But I love tech, and I'm not letting it go. And I have some GenAI ideas that we're going to flush through. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that today. I just want to talk about GenAI as a whole. We'll get there. So yeah, so put the Foresight hat on. We do cloud migrations, modernizations, DevOps, ProServe, managed services, help desk type stuff. So if that's your thing, I can help you there. So what is generative AI? What I call Gen AI, I think that's what it's starting to be called, but I don't know. That's what I call it because I get tired of saying the word generative. It's way too tongue twisted. I'm kind of a simple guy. I like things I can understand. So the best way I try to describe it to people is literally it's algorithms that create some sort of content for you. And it thinks and it knows who you are, it knows the context, it learns about you, and it spits out some sort of content. And that content can be any sort of medium, usually digital, right? So for instance, in modern day, and the cloud has really enabled this, in my opinion, unlimited data storage, nearly. Unlimited processing, massive services. You don't have to manage the data centers. The cloud has enabled so much of this computing because so much of it relies on big data, analytics, tools like that. So any questions online before I get going too much further? We good? Okay. So to sum it up, really. Okay, thank you. No, I know. You're gonna chain me to the desk. And no, it's all right. I apologize. Sometimes I should ask for a lapel mic next time. Sorry for pointing. So vast quantities of info. Apply some algorithm to it. Today we call it machine learning or artificial intelligence or reporting or whatever it is. It's way more powerful than just reporting, right? There's probably some data scientists, AI, ML people in here, maybe. I see some, no? Okay. Stop me, because I'm trying to keep this pretty easy to understand up front. And then we spit out some formatted content. Now that's real generic, real high level, but think of how broad the implications of that are. For instance, let's look at chatbots. Everybody knows about ChatGPT, right? Everybody's probably at least seen it on the news and probably hashed out a couple code snippets from it, right? I do. What does everybody do today? Or what did they do the last 10 years? You get an assignment, you go to Google immediately, and you query, oh, there's a hit on Stack Overflow. You pull that code down and you start hacking with it, right? That's what everybody does. Well, ChatGPT is like that plus the next level, in my opinion. There's a lot more it can do. Bard just came out. Anybody played with Bard yet? So Bard is Google's kind of response to ChatGPT. Pretty cool. It's there's some good things to it. Yeah, go out and play with it. You know, see what it does for you. Images and art. Anybody played with Dolly or heard about Imagine? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so pretty cool. Like I can go create an image just based on some sort of input, right? I took some sort of information, I gave it an input, it compared what it knows about the world with what I told it and what it knows about me. It processed that and it spat out some sort of image. CodeGen. There's a AWS service called Code Whisperer. But there's like so many of these now, I couldn't even list them. Like when I did this 3 months ago, there was a certain number out. I looked through. There's so many out now, I don't even know where to start with all. Source AI, code in any language. You want some code, you want a function, boom, go out and try to auto-generate it. So highly recommend if you're a coder. That's I refuse to let go of that mantra. Go give it a shot. OpenAI Codex with the GPT-3, I know 4 came out. So integrated into GitHub, if you've used Copilot before. And then there's so many of these. So content, everybody's seen probably all the ads in your Facebook and your LinkedIn feeds. And they're like, hey, use AI to generate all your marketing content. I don't think it works all that well all the time, but there are tools to do that. Audio, I like TikTok. I watch it way too much. But think of all the audio. That is generative AI. You type in your text and some voice that you pick speaks it for you, or it takes your voice input, massages it into the new voice and puts it out. Or we were talking earlier, I can't remember who, type in text, pick your voice, give it some voice samples, it creates your voice for you, right? That's all generative AI. It's generating new content based on learning, etc. And then video. The new thing I've seen, Runway, type in text, get a video based on text. I love it. I think that's so cool. I mean, just think of all the things. Anybody here write like collateral, white papers, marketing content, case studies? I mean, I'm doing that stuff all the time. Those tools, I think, can help. Yes, Nikki? Yes, I think some of them have it. I don't know if Teams and all them have it built in, but yeah. So Microsoft bought OpenAI, right? And they integrated ChatGPT into the chatbot in Teams, and they're putting it in Bing. So expect great things. I think it's the best thing for Bing because kind of the joke is no one used it. Well, now I think people will with if they're going to integrate this tech stack. So a little bit of background. Deep learning kind of started 60, 70 years ago. Then we had GANs come in, and then last year, ChatGPT, especially at the end of the year, but so many other platforms, deepfakes. Anytime you hear deepfake, I think of GenAI, right? It's faking something, it's building something that's not real. It's generating that content based on what it's learned. So ChatGPT, some quick history of the impact. Fastest growing consumer app in history. I had to update these numbers because it took off so much. There were 100 million users in January. It took 2 months to get 100 million users. TikTok took 9 months, so that's what, 4.5 times as long. And Instagram took 2.5 years. To give you a little perspective of how growth. Did anybody try to use ChatGPT in November? and you couldn't get into it 50% of the time, you could not log in. So just, I want to be the person who sells all the compute hardware to Azure right now. So yeah, usage, 13 million unique visitors per day in January. Today, there's 25 million. And then of course it gets integrated. But today, you know, over there, come out, fastest. So a lot, $200 million. That's 5 times growth for that company in a year. That's pretty good. So I would love to own that company. Actually, I'd love to have a discussion because these are just some use cases I've come up with that I've seen people do. Maybe there's other technical use cases that you use, because we're a group of technologists here, and there's a lot more uses beyond technology that people are using this for. I had a pastor pull up and ask it a theological question using the sermon. So I'm not doing that today, but I'll talk about this NLP. I think it's really good for building machine learning models with natural language processing. I did something with AWS Transcribe, built out all the content for it. I'll talk about the metrics around that. And it like saved me like a week and a half. It was crazy. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now we'll talk about some down. I would love to hear what everybody thinks are the downfalls and what doesn't work well in it yet. Because I've had some like technical white papers that I don't think it was just not good enough. I could tell it was like off, you know, and if I can tell it's off, I know like the engineers who live in it every day, it's like way off. So, but like for like technical white papers, I don't know yet, but for sales marketing, yeah. So translation services, code gen, I've talked about that. I think it does really well with that. And there's so many tools now that are integrated into IDEs. Personas was a really cool development. Anybody ever written use cases for requirements or the storyboards and, you know, on Agile? Yeah. Man, if I were still writing those today, I would have that thing chunking out personas. I mean, because it's so, you're like, so many times you're like, I know I need to describe this person. And I don't want to spend the blood, sweat, and tears to like have to type it out. I'm super lazy. I like high efficiency. So absolutely, if I can use some sort of generation engine to create content that's relevant to my use case, like describe Sally, you know, working on her project throughout the day, and I don't want to spend, you know, half a day writing that story, and I can have ChatGPT just crank something out to get good enough. Great. Again, I wouldn't call it good enough for like a technical thing, but, you know, for simple things. I did a full stack POC. Now I can't remember who I was talking to earlier. Couldn't do it all at once, but piece by piece, I could build out a POC. Better chatbots. So they're integrating ChatGPT into the Teams chat engine, but just think of what you could do with like your help desk application. If you had a big corporate network, with something that's actually pretty good at coming back. Chatbots 5-10 years ago were awful. Anybody ever use those on like a retail site? They were horrible. Like, I know I'm talking to a robot and I hate you. I want to talk to somebody else. So video processing, audio processing, we talked about that, image processing. So some use cases today. Hey, let's learn about, let's take a form. So maybe a medical record chart, right? Let's learn about it and let's spit out a coded chart, right? That's still GenAI, but it's also a lot of coding, a lot of development, a lot of AI ML. I had one use case. A customer wanted to, I think they installed fences. And so they wanted to take the satellite imagery from Google, process it, calculate the perimeter of the yard so that they could automate all the estimates for the fence. They didn't have to send anybody out to the site, and they got an estimate that's 80% close, right? That's a lot less expensive than sending an engineer out who's costing $100 an hour they've got to spend half a day looking at somebody's yards, or they can get it close enough and then they can tweak it later. So that was a good use case, I thought. Image processing, video, audio. So audio processing, anybody ever worked in healthcare and heard the, remember the what do they call them? Transcribers. The doctors record on the tapes. They used to do this when I was working in healthcare. They recorded the tape and then they used to give it to a medical transcriptionist who would then type out what the doctor said, and that'd go to a coder and they'd code it. Well, heck, I mean, we've got translation services, right? I mean, just think of what you could do in other type scenarios. So that stuff's been around for a while. So here's how I kind of really got excited. So about a year ago, I was building a AWS Transcribe solution for a hobby project, and I needed to load in, create a whole bunch of content. I'm a ham radio guy. I wanted to build a transcription service that would translate esoteric ham radio speak into something you could read and then process. So I was like, I could do this, you know, Transcribe or the equivalent Azure or GCP. So I had to spend all this time writing a Python or PHP, I can't remember what I coded it in, program to go out, scrape websites, you know, like this radio, this electronics company, and then parse that into content that could be formatted that I could then load up to the storage services in AWS. And then that would be used to generate the customized language for processing. So, like, you know exactly what needs to be done, right? Now you just have to figure out the syntax. And I always hated it. I'm like, I know what I need to do, and I have to spend all my time farting around with syntax, getting it to work. So it took me like 2 weeks off and on because it was a hobby project, right? ChatGPT comes out. Finally, once I was able to log in, I go out there and I got that thing to generate in like a couple days. Honestly, and it just took that long because I had to go type a chat thing in and then go away for a while. And it generated all that content for me in like 2 days. Holy cow. I just saved 10 days or whatever, you know, 8. I can't do math today. My math is broken, you know? And then, so the next thing I did, and so here's kind of an example. And if you really want, I can go up to ChatGPT and show you, but I still once bitten, twice shy. Like I got to go out there and be able to log in. But basically, I said, I just started designing prompts. I said, you know, write 50 sentences about amateur radio emergency communication services. Boom. Here's that content. It took me like several days, a lot of coding to build this out. All I have to do now is copy paste this, throw it up in S3, which is the storage thing for AWS. Oh my gosh. Like, save me all the headache. Like, I knew this is where I needed to go, but I had to do all the work of transforming, right? That's what ChatGPT does. That's what GenAI does for you. It transforms, inputs, processes with an algorithm, gives you some sort of output. I like computers. So, I mean, I did that, and I just had to create a bunch of these files. So for this kind of application, I will say the content I generated myself, if I handwrite it, it's going to be a lot better, right? Like if I typed out exactly, and I did do this on some things, there's some really weird words, phrases that get said in amateur radio, for instance, that I would specifically address. But the trade-off, it's a trade-off, right? I can either spend a lot of manual time building that out and getting it perfect. And there are some use cases for that. Or this tool can save me 2 weeks of effort and I get something out and it's pretty darn good, right? Yeah, or the, you know, the kind of, yeah. Yeah, you know, with the prompts from here. Yeah, I have not done it. I've only played with Bard a few times. So, but yes, one of the things, especially you can use ChatGPT to make ChatGPT better. So you get the, you know, plug in a prompt, you get something out. and then you refine it. You find the prompt or you refine the output, and it gets smarter. And then initially I could train it. I'll show actually on this next one. So this is a more interesting case. So there's a custom vocabulary in AWS. Anybody familiar with AWS Transcribe services? Okay, no worries. Everybody knows CSV files, right? Everybody knows that. Okay. It's basically a CSV file. Well, crap. I don't want to build a program to go write a CSV file. I mean, how many times have we done that? Like a million times in my career, right? Yeah, Matt knows. So that's what I wanted it to do. I'm the guy who actually trained it to do that one day. If I'm like, I would love it to do this for me. So I spent an afternoon tweaking it to do this. But basically, I went out and did a prompt and said, create a table with columns, blah, 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 blah. And it spat it out exactly like that. They're making our jobs easier and making us more valuable, in my opinion. But so here's what I did originally. Look how much better it is 3 months later. So, and so basically I can take, copy, paste that in, and I took away all the programming I had to do to generate this output, because I knew what the format was. I knew wanted to talk to me about, is it, to Nikki's point, is it as good as if I had like manually programmed every single darn thing? No, but it's a lot easier and a lot faster. So I think it's really good for proof of concept, right? I just got to get it up and running. We'll refine it next time. We're agile, we're moving. Value now. I love that. So that's what I was super excited when I did that. I'm like, holy cow. Like I just wasted two weeks of my life, last year. Then I did then I'm like, okay, I built this front end app out in front of it. I wonder if I could do that too. Heck yeah. So anybody work with Terraform or, so IAC infrastructure as code. So when you work in the cloud, you're not, used to plug servers and walls and hook cables into things. Now you do it all declaratively with code. Well, I can set up full cloud footprint now, and I can have ChatGPT get it pretty close. I'd say 80%. Now I can't do everything all at once, but I was able to create a full stack app, which I'll define as DynamoDB, on the back end. It's data storage. It could be SQL. It could be whatever. It spits out all the code to stand up the database in the cloud. It sets all the policies. We call them IAM in AWS land. I had to do serverless. So I said, hey, set up Lambda functions for data access. Boom. Oh, by the way, go ahead and write the code for me to this table. Boom, done. Okay. Now it's not all right. Like you could kind of throw it out there, but guess what? It just did all the heavy lifting. All the things like, okay, how do I import this library? What library was it again? I don't know. It's always changing, right? Like it eliminates a lot of that. But again, you still have to get in there. So this is what I did. Here's an example. This was too much. So I put this prompt in. Hey, deploy a full stack app out here effectively on AWS. The front end will be React, Node.js, using Bootstrap. I love grids, responsive grids. Make the database DynamoDB, and here's 3 tables. By the way, it actually stubbed out some fields in the tables for me without me asking. I could have declared fields. It'll do that too. And by the way, all data access should go through Lambda functions. So all I've done here is textually describe a serverless app. It looks a little bit like this. Not exactly close, because I didn't put Cognito or Amplify. Guess what? If I'd have broken down each one of those specific components, you can get really, really close. You can go out and deploy that, hook it into some sort of CI/CD pipeline that auto deploys it. Doesn't eliminate, Matt, doesn't eliminate the person sitting in the chair. Well, it made my life a heck of a lot faster and easier. So here's kind of some things I've learned. Personas are really cool. So for instance, I approached the pastor when I was telling you about that example. He asked the theological question to ChatGPT. He didn't specify what denomination he was coming from. He should have used a persona, because it gave him a different answer than what you would get from somebody else in a different denomination. So funny things like that, right? Use personas, and then you can use multiple personas, have them interact. Man, if I were writing use cases again, gosh, I'd be all over that. And then who was asking? Use ChatGPT to make better prompts for itself and other platforms. So yeah, I've seen people take that and feed it into some other system. I haven't done that a whole lot yet. Here's one thing. So I've replaced web searches with specific asks to the bot. So whereas you used to go like, you go out to Google and you say, hey, find me a function that creates a comma delimited file from a folder structure like this. Now I just tell this to take it to the next step. Go out and build this for me and do it this way and pretend I'm acting as so-and-so. It's like 3 times better. Not all the way there, but it's better. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it doesn't not spit out perfect stuff by any means. Sometimes it can be weird. It was really weird 4 months ago, in my opinion. Yeah. And ask, how many times did you go searching through old code? Like I did this 4 years ago. Do I even have that zip file? No, I just go out, search for it, right? And then here's what we were talking earlier. I break down complex chats into like specific components. So I'm doing a full stack app, build my serverless functions, build my database, build my front end. You do piece by piece, and then you still need the person to kind of mesh it, test it, correct ChatGPT. So it does learn. So you got the little like icons. You can go in there, thumbs up, thumbs down, tweak it, tell it what to do, and it'll actually get better. It was a lot more responsive 4 months ago. Today it's a lot harder to move it in terms of. So here's what I'd love to ask. What do you think it doesn't do well? Here's my opinion on a few things. Overly complex, detailed asks is just too much process all at once. If I get it small enough, it does really well with really detailed asks. But if I do like an entire full stack, super complex architecture all in one prompt, it just dies. Specific architecture. So really esoteric things, I don't like that word if you haven't noticed, that it doesn't really know about yet. Maybe really hard. Like for instance, AWS Transcribe vocab tables hadn't been done yet. And so when I first tried to do them, it didn't know how to, it said, it just kind of balked at me. Well, then we trained it for a little while. And now it's okay now. So I would say any sort of weird use case that it hasn't learned about yet. Yeah. So, and then what I don't like, this is what I talked about earlier, Nikki. I don't really like if I'm going to write a technical white paper, like I can tell it's like the difference between like a senior architect and a salesperson writing a technical white paper. Like, don't write my tech manual for me yet. Like, I don't feel like it's that good at it, but it's really great if you just need something like a little less higher level. And then sometimes I found like technical errors, like it's making claims like, no, that service doesn't do that at all. So, oh, no, the service limit changed and ChatGPT doesn't know about it yet. And yeah, I would love for it to create detailed architecture diagrams for me. Gosh, man, wouldn't it be great if I could just plug in like I could talk to you and tell you what the architecture needs to be. Why can't this thing just go look up a reference architecture and map it? Not there yet. Yeah. That's what I want to do that. That's actually a project I want to work on, at least find out if somebody's doing it. So here's the other thing, and Matt kind of brought this up, some work, maybe this is what we break up and talk about. What are some of the ethical issues with? Yeah. It's honestly, you got to think about it. Like, what's it going to be? Like, I always like the Skynet Matrix allegory, right? Make dumb decisions faster. One time I built a report for somebody and they hadn't done the math right. I built it right through their spec. And all it did was cause the people using that report making decisions to make reports, make dumb decisions a lot faster. So if that model isn't right or it's giving you bad information, what's going on? What about prejudice, right? You know, there's prejudice in the world, and if it learns, hey, what's a good policy on this certain political issue or whatever, what I mean, whoa, what if it's got some bad content loaded? You know, how do you combat that? Deep fakes, right? Think of all the, you know, what you could do, try to get back at somebody, using it, you know, abuse, right? Create horrific content, send it to somebody, that kind of thing. So, and you know, jobs, what's it mean for jobs? Is it an excuse for companies to let people go? Are they going to shift them? I don't know. Creative content's a big thing. Copyrights and trademarks. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, people with bad motives, you never know what they're going to, what they could use it to do. Copyrights and trademarks. I mean, you know, photographers put their photography on the web and they often label it, you know, do not use. Well, who's to say that they didn't use it to refine the algorithm, you know, to auto create a picture, and maybe they didn't reuse the image, but they used the picture of that image to make their engine smarter. Yeah, the blueprint, the art. So what does that mean? There's all sorts of issues. Trademark, same thing. Education. So I'm teaching cloud fundamentals this summer. Like, I know, I'm like, how do I, like, I'm going to actually teach I'm going to teach one class on GenAI because I love it so much. And it's a hot topic, right? Plagiarism. Or how do I make sure that people understand it and they're not using ChatGPT to give me some BS paper, right? Copy paste from a website. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's probably more categories. Especially relative. Like for me, like from like, you know, teach and then this, you know, intellectual property, you know, protecting just IP in general. Yep. Yep. Essentially, things that are generated are human made, and they're in order for you to, that it is not plagiarizing, but it would be plagiarizing for you to take something potentially from other material and clean it your own without stimulation or change. Same way that you would need to kind of put down some material in the legal word. And a lot of it came down from an earlier precedent this time where a monkey took a picture of itself with a
doctor's camera, and later someone had reposted an image on the internet and attacked for trying to claim the person that stole his work. And the ruling was, well, was it not a human? You as a human, not even your property. And they kind of ran with that interpretation. But that's my understanding of the precedent from the beginning.
I'm glad I'm not in it. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, man, this is good stuff. No, I love this. This is great. Yeah, so, I mean, so one guy came up, you know, hey, if I created intellectual property, whether it's an image, and somebody uses it for anything, I want a royalty, right? You know, or music. I mean, you could think of all things, you know, did you change it enough that it's now yours? I mean, you know what I mean? How do you police that? And so, and then we had another guy running over like some court cases, for me, I'm like, oh my goodness, I could never be an attorney. But ooh, so yeah, what happens in, yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. So I don't know if online heard that, but talking about AI making ethical decisions, and especially if you make a mistake and train it on something bad, or you know, how do you know? Until you create a problem. So yeah, what if you're doing a patient care decision and AI is making that, and it's got some sort of prejudice in there about who gets what organs, right? Shatner. And, give us an opinion, and at the bottom it says, on AI. Yeah. Yeah. Personas. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm tethered right here. So yeah, no, those are great questions. Yeah. So personas, like I like the personas thing. So
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to go a different direction for a second, even though I'm enthralled with talking about ethical decisions about this. But I wanted to ask how many people here are actually incorporating ChatGPT into their day-to-day development activities, and if you have an organization that employs developers, have you already bought licenses for them, $20 a month or whatever for ChatGPT 4 and so on? Yeah.
the reliability is with it.
So I want to come off this because
He's pretty cool.
like from the security side. Wonder schools people have great, like Copilot, or image generation, doing Fireflies, because the moment there are things that are not doing what apparently Chat is doing in terms of
What's
GDPR.
how? Yeah.
depending on where you're trying to find the right solution. Copilot seems obvious, but
Anything from the online group, are they chatting about what they've done?
They're not able to hear, so I just asked the question.
It's hard having.
Yeah.
It is, and we just need to figure out a better way. This is the first really interactive, so I just need to get with Ari and have Cliff come figure it out for me, right?
That's my last slide, other than hit me up on LinkedIn. So, yeah, I actually intentionally knew that was going to spawn conversation.
I don't know what would work better other than if you have something to say, go into
Yeah, if somebody
go into one of the laptops.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely. This
yeah,
is
they
not.
just can't hear you. Even the conversation from you to him, it couldn't be caught. Yeah.
Not to exclude anybody, but they're not getting much value.
Well,
Yeah.
to me, the GDPR thing, I'm like, so I really want to dig in, like, wow, what is the specific thing? Like, I'm like, I never thought about that, you know? Yeah. Like, that brings up a whole other series of questions. Like, what kind of regulations?
It's really thing that I feel all the time, but I'm like, I'm still impressed that we can potentially do this as like an extra thing and be really efficient. and effective.
Yeah, I just asked if anybody online has questions, then we'll just wrap up the online.
But then I also feel like the results, like when I do it, it feels great. And when other people do it, I'm like, you cheated. Like the valuing that I have, especially when you're talking about content creation, but even in development too. You know, it's like, I like the fact that people had to learn how to do it and RTFM, you know, and you know, figure out how to do these things. Now, like, you don't get that. I'm sorry. I mean,
All I got back from online was that Teams 2.0 will be better.
All right. Hey, hey, thanks, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and log out.
So thank you all for joining. I'm sorry that the in-room microphone is not good enough. We're gonna set this up differently for next month, so I apologize. We're gonna have Nathan go ahead and log off, and we'll have some in-room discussion. I'll keep the chat open for the next little bit, so if anybody has questions online, you can feel free to ping me, and I'll make sure that Nathan gets that information.